Okay, I'm just going to change gears and connect with the management of SAIL now, Steel Authority of India. Mr. Chaudhary joins us now. Mr. Chaudhary, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Before we get into specifics, how is SAIL coping up with the slowdown? What is happening to your production? What is happening to your workers? How exactly have things moved for SAIL in the first 9 days of the lockdown?
Right. As far as production is concerned, as you know, most of the steel making companies within the country, they have decided to scale down the production. Problem is not in doing the production, but the problem is that how to evacuate that material. The railways have been very, very cooperative, but we are finding it difficult to unload the material at the selling points because contractors are not available and the labor has also run away. As far as labor availability for plant production is concerned, we are comfortable because we have very good industrial relations with the unions and also with the officers' associations. They have been cooperating. We have developed a roster whereby we are able to invite 40 to 50% of the manpower, which is sufficient to take care of the essential services and the equipment. So overall, the capacity utilization has come down close to 50% in the last 9 days. And going forward, if we find that there are no orders or we are not able to evacuate or we are not able to sell our material in the market, we may be forced to bring down the production further. What we want to do is that we'll be running our larger blast furnaces to the full extent, and the smaller blast furnaces will put on banking to be restored as and when the lockdown is over. And we can restart them within a period of 3 to 4 days.
Could you broadly tell us that what is the estimated loss for SAIL because of the lockdown on a daily basis?
It is very difficult to calculate that loss, but of course I can share with you what is going to be the production loss. As I said that we have already brought down our production to 50% level. Earlier, we used to have production of 56,000 tons in our blast furnaces on a daily basis, which was almost equal to our capacity. But now we have decided to bring it down to 50%. So it is very difficult to say how the market will behave after the lockdown and what all type of demand would be there. So it is too early to estimate about any sort of losses due to lockdown.
Do you think that we could be going through a very strange kind of an inventory stroke demand situation now? Because post lockdown, I'm sure demand will come back as industrial activities will start. Not every factory has inventory levels. SAIL, JSW Steel, Tata Steel, all companies have told us is that they've cut down the production. So do you see a immediate spike in the market for when the lockdown will get over and prices could actually go higher?
What I find that the lockdown will be lifted in phases only. So maybe in certain districts, the lockdown will be lifted earlier. So there may not be any, I would say, significant demand in the beginning of the lifting of lockdown. But as we settle down, the demand is going to grow because in infrastructure, nothing has happened in the last, I would say, 30 days and 15 more days if we add, that is the further period of lockdown. And after that, when it opens, there is going to be a good demand. Likewise, for our end consumer also, the demand has come down substantially. So all those will be needing steel. And I find going forward, at least from the month of May onwards, the demand should be better. And that may lead to increase in the prices also. But for that, we need some help from the government. That is, the protection should be given to the Indian steel industry. If you see in the last 2.5 months, despite all the problem of this disease in China, the Chinese production continued unabated. Even in the month of February, they produced close to 87 million ton of steel, which was just equal to what they produced in CPLY, that is February 2019. Even in March, they have decided to maintain the pace of production. So they are also sitting over large inventories, and those inventories are going to come for sale in Asian countries. So we have to take care of that also, that any dumping of steel from China should not result into reduction in prices within the country. So we have to watch for that. Otherwise, I am quite optimistic after lifting of the lockdown the demand should be better, and what kind of impact it will be having on prices, this is to be seen in the time to come.
Mr. Chaudhary, but what about raw materials? What sort of supply chain disruption are you facing when it comes to your raw materials in particular?
If we see today, there is disruption in the supply chain from both the sides. That is from our supplier side and also from our buyer side. But as far as our supply chain from vendor side is concerned, that we are having captive iron ore, so we need not have to worry about that. And fortunately, we were having sufficient quantity of coal also available with us when this lockdown started. Normally, we have been keeping an inventory of coal of 35 days. So as far as bulk raw materials are concerned, there is absolutely no problem. We were having stock of close to 15 days. That is, it would have sustained for 15 days. But some of the minor raw material supplies, they have been affected because of the non-movement of trucks. Even now, the movement of essential and non-essential commodities, that has been permitted. But the truckers are really not coming out because most of the dhabas are closed and there are no facilities available on the highways. So drivers are also not willing to move. So that has caused us some problem. But I believe with the reduction in the production, we should be able to sustain that availability of raw material up to, say, the period of lockdown. That is 14th April, we should be able to sustain very comfortably.
You know, that's the other thing that I wanted to ask you. Are you also facing, much as many other industries are, the issue and worry about migrant workers?
In our case, that problem is not there because whatever contract workers are there, they are also from the nearby areas. But of course, there is some panic at certain places. There is a unknown fear of something unknown, and they are not coming. But one good thing we have done, that we have gone into rostering. That we have prepared a roster of 50% of the employees, and fortunately, they have all been coming regularly. And the production which we intended to have, that is to the extent of 50%, that is not suffering. So in our case, there is not much of a problem of the migrant labor. And as soon as the lockdown is over, I think we should be mobilized. We should be able to mobilize our labor back into operations.
Given that your production and sales have have dropped so significantly, Mr. Chaudhary, while the loan moratorium has been okayed upon by the Reserve Bank of India and has been granted, how is it that you're going to meet your other fixed expenses? Because your fixed cost structure, as we understand, is relatively quite high.
You're right. In steel industry in general, the fixed cost structure is very high because of the high manpower, because of the fixed demand charges for power, because of the regular maintenance, because of the requirement of consumables. As far as this repayment of principal and payment of interest is concerned, we have not opted for any moratorium because that moratorium is not coming free. You have to pay interest for the moratorium period. So as I would say, a good borrower, we have decided that we will meet all our repayment obligations with the cash which we have been generating today. And going forward, I find, yes, for some time we may have to be dependent on bank borrowings because internal cash generation may not be sufficient to take care of our fixed expenses. And among fixed expenses, the largest component is that of salary, wages and salary to our employees. Some portion we will be generating from within because certain debtors were outstanding in the last month and also they are getting due for repayment within the current month. So those cash inflows will be available. These cash inflows coupled with some borrowings from the market, I think we should be able to pull along and we should be able to meet our requirement for fixed expenses.
I'm not aware of how exactly your selling cycle works, but if you sell on credit to your dealers, do you think that payment and repayment capacity of the dealers will go down now and that could lead to a lot of cash flow problems, or maybe NPA is not the problem, but maybe at the dealer level, at MSC level, you may struggle to get your money back?
Definitely, there will be some issues because everybody's cash flows have been strained. Because of this lockdown, because they are also not able to get the further orders. So I find that the cash flow may remain strained, for all of us, whether they are our traders or our dealers or our end consumers. But ultimately, we are going to get realized because to private parties, most of my debtors, they are backed by LC or BG. Normally, we do not sell material on credit without security. So that way, we are secured. If we are not able to get the payment from our traders and consumers and also from dealers in the normal course, we can always have resort to invocation of bank guarantees. So that money is secured, of course. The cycle may take slightly longer. And we also don't want to unnecessarily pressurize. We will give them some more time before going in for invocation of bank guarantees.
Okay, Mr. Chaudhary, good to have you on the show, and we'll chat again soon once we have clarity and visibility on what's the status of the lockdown getting lifted. Good to speak with you.